Welcome to Podcast 83, a regular look at the news, stories, and trends related to Michigan's 83 counties from the Michigan Association of Counties.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Podcast 83, the podcast put on by the Michigan Association of Counties. You only get two of us this week, just Deena and Steve. Deena, how was your weekend?
I had a fantastic weekend.
Good.
I had my granddaughter all weekend and it was an absolute riot.
Good, that's good. And a lot of good basketball on TV too, if you're into that sort of thing.
Lots of good basketball.
Well, good. Well, Deena, let's get into it. Something that we've talked about a few times now, road funding. We had some developments last week. You want to give us an update on the road funding discussions and where things are at right now?
I'd love to. So last week, the Michigan House of Representatives passed out their road funding plan. That road funding plan is a huge winner for county road systems across the state. I think, looking at the estimates that were put out by the House Fiscal Agency on that distribution, and I'm pretty sure we're going to link them here, it's at least, at a minimum, a 97% increase in road funding for each county across the state. Some counties a little bit more than that, depending on how urban they are. Huge increase for counties. So they're going from like a $1.2 billion road funding allocation for fiscal year 24 to, did I say 1.2 billion? Yeah, to a all right, I'm completely messing up my numbers. $2.6 billion allocation, which, like I said, is about a 90% increase. So minimum 97% increase. That package passed out with bipartisan support out of the Michigan House last week, and now is over to the Senate for their consideration. I will say we're still waiting on a proposal by the Michigan governor, by Gretchen Whitmer, and we're also waiting on a proposal from the Michigan Senate. I anticipate that will be a combined proposal, and it will be similar to what the House passed out, but not exactly. I anticipate the Senate and the governor to recommend some revenue increases so that we're not looking at such a potential decrease in the state's general fund.
Yeah, there were a lot of moving parts to that plan that the House passed out. I saw something on there, and I don't have it in front of me. Was there a new funding distribution method in there? Or no? New category?
Yeah, there's a new category. So basically, it's just a portion of the new road funding plan will go through the current Michigan Transportation Fund, which counties get like, a third of it toward the bottom of it. This new plan has still some allocation out of the Michigan Transportation Fund, but then there's new distributions that are really focused on local roads, county road system, city road system, and then there's a neighborhood road fund that is also in there to really focus on the most traveled, heavy urbanized, most traveled city roads, city and county roads. So yeah, a lot of this bypasses the current PA 51 road funding formula and goes up to counties.
The intent was that to get it to more local roads through that new funding distribution model, which I think when you have almost every county getting 100% more funding, that's significant. And it'll be interesting, when you start talking about it, to see how easy it is to implement, right? You start throwing that kind of money around in every county, getting people, supplies, all that starts coming onto the table as far as a discussion point on getting the roads fixed, right?
Yeah, and the good news is that it's not meant to lapse. So you're going to have plenty of time to get those contracts in order, find everybody who's going to do the work, get it all planned out, and then spend the money. They're not going to try and claw any of this back. So this is the amount of money going forward.
Year over year.
Year over year.
Yeah.
Year over year. And they've even put money in there for critical bridges, especially those that are like closed or in really, really bad shape. So it's a huge investment in the state infrastructure, and we're really happy to see it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we'll see where the governor and the Senate come out and see how things get negotiated as we, now you got budget discussions going on. You've got this road funding package that's not part of the budget, separate from separate discussion, significant package of funding, but doesn't affect the budget, right? Or does it?
Well, we don't really know that. We
Right.
don't really know that.
Yeah.
It is going to be a decrease in the state's general fund
Mhm.
for sure. But where they're going to take that out of, I don't really know. They've already decided that they're going to try and save some money by not having as many budget earmarks as they've had in the past. So that'll save some money. They're trying to move businesses from the Michigan business tax and those big mega credits over to the corporate income tax, which is where a bulk of this funding is going to come from. So they anticipate an increase in the CIT and to allocate that to locals. Now, the hit to the state general fund, not really sure where that's going to come from. I
Mhm.
know that they've decided that they're going to hold schools harmless for their loss in sales tax revenue. So they've already got $75 million set aside for that. They've got money set aside for constitutional revenue sharing for cities, villages, and townships. Where the rest of it comes from, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. And we're going to have to wait and see. That's not something that we could react to right away because we don't know what the impact is going to be or where it's going to come from.
Right. It's just part of the appropriations process at some point, right?
Yep. Yep.
All right, let's change gears a little bit. Something we've kind of heard about from some counties recently about veteran grants in the state. Maybe some issues there that have been brought to our attention. Can you bring us up to speed on what's going on with some of these grants that may have been incorrectly calculated by the state and causing some problems locally?
Yeah. So what we're talking about are the county service veterans grants. And these are veterans grants for the fiscal year 25, which started last October 1st. And so what we understand is the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs last October said, hey, counties, thanks for applying for your veteran service grants. Everything's great. This is how much money you're going to get. Then, they had a meeting in December. Everything was still fine. Come to find out on February 18th, the department had to do a recalculation of the funds that are scheduled to go out to counties for their county service veterans grants. And on February 18th, they notify counties that some of them are getting a 60 to 70% decrease in the amount of the grant that they thought they were going to get. And this is well after the first quarter. So this issue came about. They had a hearing on it last week in the Appropriations Subcommittee on Military and Veterans Affairs. And the legislators were not happy at all. After that committee meeting, I got a phone call from Representative Julie Rogers, who got a MAC Advocate Award, I think last year or the year before. And she's just great legislator who is dedicated to making sure counties are held harmless. Anyway, talked to Julie about it, and she let me know that she's absolutely looking for an additional appropriation to try and keep counties whole for fiscal year 25. So she's out there trying to figure out how to make this right. Problem is, the department doesn't have the funds right now. They don't have the funds in the account for all of the promises that they made to the individual counties. They want to have it. They want to be able to honor those commitments. And the department did testify that they're happy that so many more counties are participating in the program. They just inaccurately accounted for the funds and sent them out, sent out promises or checks that they couldn't cash. In their defense, they're used to about 35 counties a year applying for these county veteran service grants. And that expanded to 70 counties for this fiscal year. So there's a lot more interest, a lot more utilization of the fund, and they didn't really account for that. So now they're stuck in a bind.
Yeah, so would that come most likely in the form of a supplemental budget appropriation, probably,
Yeah,
or
I think it's going to have to.
yeah.
I think it's going to have to. I know the department has asked counties to submit a change to their request and try and work it out that way. At some counties, I think have talked about supplementing that budget with their own general funds And I think that the department is really looking to the counties to bail them out. And at this point, I don't know what's going to happen, if they're going to do it, if they're not, or if the legislature is going to be able to come to an agreement on a supplemental budget to help hold counties harmless.
Well, yeah, I think this is something we'll have to keep our ear to the ground on and see what sort of legislative fix there is or other options that are out there that may present itself. But a good update there and something we're definitely watching and we'll keep updating folks on over the next few weeks. Other than that, Deena, we're in spring break right now. Not a lot going on in the legislature, right? I mean, the next couple weeks should be fairly quiet here in Lansing.
Yeah, I think the House is going to have a couple of committee meetings this week because they weren't originally planning on being on break. But since they got that road funding package passed last week, I don't anticipate session or voting on the floor. Maybe a couple committee meetings here and there, but the Senate is on break this week and next. So we're hoping they come back to town for a conference, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Senate's scheduled to be back in that week. It's a matter of whether which House members are around. And like you said, I think most spring breaks are this current week and next week. So hopefully folks will be back around doing some office work and we'll stop by our conference, which is a great segue to April 7 through 9, our MAC conference coming up here quickly. Registration closes Friday, the 28th. I believe, is that Friday's date? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the 28th is this Friday, so registration closes. So far, really strong registration numbers are up. You can go to micounties.org to register and get a hotel room. Other than that, I don't think we have much else. Deena, anything else you wanted to add that I might have missed?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
All right, well, thank you, and we look forward to seeing everyone at our conference, April 7 through 9. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Podcast 83.